SABC News correspondent Sarah Coates, who's joining us live from Tel Aviv with the latest on the ongoing war in the Middle East. Sarah, as always, great to have you with us. When can the Gazans expect the docking of the Freedom Flotilla carrying that much-needed humanitarian aid to Gazans?
Well, that is yet to be seen, but we have been hearing from the organisers of the Freedom Flotilla who've been saying that it is expected to arrive in the first few weeks of this coming month, so in May. But one other development on the ground with regards to aid today is that the Pentagon has now come out to say that construction has begun on this floating dock that the United States announced some weeks ago now, which will take humanitarian supplies all the way from Cyprus to Gaza. Now, we do know that there are around 1,000 US troops who'll be constructing this pier, although they have been instructed by the US President Joe Biden not to set a foot on Gazan soil, given that the United States says it doesn't want to be, let's say, complicit in any of this aid delivery situation, given this horrendous atrocity we saw a few weeks back with the killing of these World Central Kitchen employees. So certainly it really is a deteriorating situation as we've been speaking about month after month here. We do understand, according to the Israelis, that yesterday, Thursday, some 344 trucks made it through these numerous crossings into Gaza, 100 of those trucks bound for the northern part of the Strip. But certainly alarm bells coming from the United Nations, coming out a little earlier today to say that they expect famine to set in May. So this is certainly a very worrying situation, especially given that we have been hearing from the Israelis over these last few days. The plans are certainly going ahead for this Rafah operation. Rafah, of course, being down in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, also the place where some 1.3 million Palestinians are sheltering.
Sarah, we are getting latest reports of these mass graves that were recently discovered at the Nasser as well as Al-Shifa hospitals in Gaza. And there has been, we understand, a call for an independent investigation looking into this. What can you tell us in this regard?
Well, the Israelis are calling this baseless and unfounded. The Israeli military has come out to deny these accusations being levelled against it, saying that its troops were actually looking for the bodies of hostages. The military says that they knew these sites were there. They actually dug up some of these bodies and then respectfully put them back in place. But of course, this is extremely concerning to the international community. And this is why we heard the US President Biden come out just yesterday saying that we want answers from the Israelis over exactly what has happened here. Now, the military went furthermore to say that they had information, intel, that Palestinians had actually been burying bodies around these hospitals like the Nasser hospital even before Israeli troops were operating in this area. But this is certainly something that we can expect to be investigated and something that the international community, as I said, is extremely concerned about.
Latest reports, Sarah, also indicate that Egypt has sent a delegation to Israel in its latest efforts to broker a ceasefire between the warring factions. What are you hearing on your side?
Certainly, this delegation, it's headed up by Egypt's spy chief, Abbas Kamal, and other senior Egyptians. They landed here a couple of hours ago. And from what we do understand, this delegation has already held a number of meetings with senior Israeli officials, including the head of the Mossad, that is David Barnea, the head of the Shin Bet, and Israel's national security advisor, Zahi Hanegbi. Now, we do know that they will be discussing, or are discussing, I should say, a number of key issues. One of them, of course, being the hostages that do remain in the Gaza Strip. 133 Israelis that have been held now for more than 200 days. Also a ceasefire. Now, there are also concerns, very grave concerns among the Egyptians of this potential operation down into Rafah. Egypt is very worried that if indeed this does happen, that this would have a massive security consequence against that country, fearing that tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians may actually breach that border between Gaza and Egypt and flow on into Egypt. So certainly a lot for these parties to discuss today. We do understand when it comes to this hostage deal that the Egyptians potentially do have a new proposal, and this would be 50 Palestinian prisoners for each soldier being held, while there will be 30 Palestinian prisoners released for every civilian hostage. So still no word on whether the Israelis are actually buying this new deal. It was apparently discussed on Wednesday when the head of the Shin Bet went to Cairo to meet with Egypt's spy chief. But certainly a lot of pressure right around the region on the Israelis to agree to a deal. And it was just a little earlier today, there were mass demonstrations down near the Erez crossing. A number of Israeli and also rabbis from the United States, they were gathering there, many of them arrested. They were actually carrying goods bound for the people inside Gaza, also calling for an immediate ceasefire.
So a very quick one there as you talk about those hostages. We know that at the center of this war is, of course, those Israeli hostages. Has there been any update on your side in terms of their well-being at this stage or their current status?
Really, still their welfare, their whereabouts remains unknown, and this is why we are seeing these increased demonstrations right around Israel. Their loved ones are simply beside themselves. There was a video put out just 2 days ago of a 23-year-old Israeli-American hostage. He was speaking in a video that was filmed by Hamas. He is missing the top of one of his arms. It was reportedly blown off in a bomb shelter when October 7 happened. He was actually attending that Nova dance party down in Israel's south. He was pleading with the Israeli government in this video released to come to some sort of an agreement with Hamas and do it now to get these people out. But this is certainly really, really worrying, of course, to say the very least, to these families who still have their loved ones inside Gaza with really little information on where they are or whether they're still alive.
Thank you so much for that update. That is SABC News correspondent in Tel Aviv, Sarah Coates.